Dan is the eye of the storm, by which all malice and strife in his universe seems to be directed to and revolve around. And despite being the frequent recipient of random and bizarre injustice, Dan isn't much better than his rivals. He's manipulative, spiteful, greedy, insensitive, and obviously full of rage. What entails is a battle of the bad guys, a grudge match between two horrible combatants. The most enjoyable aspects of the show come from the back and forth between Dan and his enemies. Dan with an initial plan, the enemy's counterattack, and a flashy, crafty, creative finish. He'll usually come out on top, but it won't be long before he's back to square one, whether due to his own shortcomings or a case of bad luck. In a way, Dan is the ultimate underdog, his persistence driving him to come up with crafty plans to outwit his enemies. His victories are short and insubstantial, as it only takes a short amount of time for him to get mad at something else or to be struck with bad luck. It's proven on multiple occasions that Dan is incredibly intelligent, but the irony is that he applies that intelligence to the most inane of conflicts. He's very much like a dog chasing its own tail, eventually catching it, spacing out, and letting go and proceeding to chase it again. He could find a way to improve his life, maybe find real peace, but his desire to dominate everything in his life gets in his way. He's a character who's fun to root for and to laugh at when he ends up on his rear end again and again. This video has been pretty positive. With all this discussion about the intricacies and layers of a fun protagonist, what if we interrupted all of that with some good old-fashioned fear-mongering? An irrational fear cropped up in my brain while thinking about the possibility of a reboot of the show. There's lots of potential for new stories and improvements in the art direction and animation that could warrant a new show. I was mostly curious if Dan vs. got a new show, would it stay a kids show or an adult show? More importantly, what kind of changes to the characters would be made if the show did transition into an adult program? The main concern I have would be the approach to stories and the character of Dan. I feel like an adult reboot would rework him into an unlikable, xenophobic weirdo in an attempt to lean more into adult shock humor. The benefits of adult animation is that you have limitless range for story and comedy potential, but often what comes out of that potential is low bar and low effort. I personally feel like the show already did a great job creating a world absurd enough for a kid to enjoy and witty enough for an adult to enjoy. I personally believe that the limitations of children's animation pushed the writers to create a nasty and lovable protagonist with a layered character without his appeal deriving exclusively from saying a slur or something. Am I making any sense? Is this a concern that other people have? Whatever, I'm probably making a mountain out of a molehill. What are the chances of a Dan vs. revival actually happening, right?